Welcome to this week's Dunlop Track Conditions Report here in Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan. I'm Jim Holley. Alongside me, Dunlop's own 6-time AMA champion, Hall of Famer, and a former teammate of mine at Yamaha, Broc Glover. Broc, something interesting, this first turn here. It's not the first turn. They opted to bypass that on the first turn, but every other lap, you come off of the Monster Energy finish line, you turn right. That's a long way driving into that first turn. A lot of guys are going to have a problem with the front end going into that corner.
Well, it's certainly a strong transition point, no question about it. The guys are going to be coming in, especially the 450s, with a lot of speed. And when you hit the base of that, you know, you're going to have a big suspension G out there, and then you're going to come into a big wide corner where you're trying to get the balance between the front and the rear, and also keep the throttle going around the corner, keep your speed up. So you don't want to overslow the bike, but again, the suspension is going to be changing, the geometry of the bike's going to be changing, so you're going to have a balance. You're going to try to get the bike to turn with the throttle and get back on the gas, but you're going to have to watch, like you mentioned, the tires pushing out and, you know, just trying to seek too wide of a line going through the corner.
Something else I noticed when we used to race back in Pontiac, we had a lot of ruts. Here, I don't think it's going to get as rutty. They're mixed in some adobe, some clay to this. It's going to get hard packed in some of those corners. How do the riders adjust for that?
Absolutely. I was very surprised when I saw how hard packed the dirt was becoming, and I mean, I like it that way. It gives more lines. People don't get caught up in the ruts as much, and you can see riders get a little closer in the corners and a little better passing conditions. So it's okay for me as a spectator, so I hope the riders like it too. But it's a situation where, you know, with the tire choices and things like that, it's going to be a little different. As the night gets more hard packed, you might see guys want to go to a little different tire setup, or maybe change the tire pressure a little bit to accommodate for it.
You know, some of those changes when the guys come up in between. Now, I know Chad Reed in the past, like, he'll run a complete different compound tire from the heat race to the main event. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Are they still doing a lot of that?
Well, I mean, different riders, the more experienced the riders, you mentioned a guy like Chad Reed, he's a lot of experience, he knows what's underneath him all the time, he knows how each little tiny change, and he pays attention, as I wish more riders possibly would follow a lead of a guy like Chad Reed, where you do pay attention to your different options out there. But most of the time in Chad's conditions, he'd probably just change the pattern a little bit, he maybe wouldn't change the compound so much, but you know, it's a good idea to know what's available to you and where you can maybe possibly make an advantage as the track changes throughout the night.
We heard it from Dunlop's own Broc Glover. That's it for this week's Dunlop Track Conditions Report here in Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan.